Hey, my name's Julian Faust. Welcome to the Profits and Panels podcast. Today I'm joined by Shawn Young, the president of Energy Hedge. Shawn, welcome and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Julian. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. And I'd like to start by just learning a bit more about your background. Can you tell me and the audience how you got started on this journey and how you became the president of Energy Hedge today?
Sure, I'd be more than happy to. So, back in probably 2008, when there was the financial crisis, I was working in commercial finance, financing like specialty commercial buildings, office buildings, portfolio of gas stations, things of that nature. And with the financial crisis, I knew that everyone else was getting hit and so forth, and the industry was going to change. And so I decided to make a change in my life, and I took a sabbatical for a few months, and I went to go visit a friend who I grew up with, who I'm in Southern California. He lives in Northern California now, and he's a very successful electrician. And he told me, he goes, you come from a construction background, your family's all blue collar, so your background's kind of blue collar construction, yet you're the first generation educated in your family. You know what you should really get into right now that's going to take off is solar energy. Renewable energy, solar energy is going to take off. Now, this is 2008. So I'm like, what is solar? So I kind of had to do my own research, and I found a company that was a private institution that puts on seminars and so forth to so you can understand what renewable energy is. And I put myself through some of their seminars, and I put that on my resume. And the next thing you know, a small family-owned outfit out of Los Angeles, which is about 30 miles from me, hired me and brought me on to work in their residential division along with their small commercial division. I started there. They were great to work with. I love them to death, but we were a commission only position as a sales rep. 6 months, I didn't make a sale. And finally, one day, a young man answers the door the way I had an appointment with, and his wife came, and their two kids were with him. And all four of them sat down with me on the couch, and they understood the investment, and they signed one there. They signed right there, and I never looked back. I was on fire and did very well there for a few years. And I was fortunate to be recruited by a large company who had signed a contract with Sunrun to be one of their official sales outfits. And I inherited four reps in a small office in the middle of Los Angeles. And along with a couple of other gentlemen who were people that I reported to, we built that thing up from four reps, probably 20 projects a month, to probably 60 reps. Opened up five more offices from Sacramento to San Diego, and at one point was selling 150 to 200 projects a month. And I saw the writing on the wall at this point. It was around 2017, and I was telling myself, there's way too many people in this industry, and I think residential is going to slow down a little bit. And fortunately for me, I met someone who became a partner of mine for a while and also a very good friend who came from the utility scale side. And he told me, Shawn, residential's going to take a break for a while, and utility is going to take a break. The place to be right now is commercial and industrial solar. The financing there, and the clients are underserved. So I did a little research, and I just said, screw it, let's do it. And I started Energy Hedge right then and there.
Shawn, you have some good friends. You have your electrician told you to get in the solar. This next person said switch over in the commercial. They're getting you right over there.
And I'm very fortunate to have met the friends that I have on all levels, whether it's been in my industry, all to just friends that I've grown up with, to friends I went to college with, to knuckleheads that I hang out with on the weekends.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back to, you mentioned that you were doing solar sales for about 6 months. Were you door knocking at the time or what were you
No,
doing? Okay.
the company was pretty strong on their local SEO, online presence. So
Uh-huh.
we were getting leads like that. However, when I made the switch to a new company where I was managing those four reps in Culver City, California, with a gentleman named Jamie Hepp and Ken Goodnick with Sidcor, we were door knocking. And we were door knocking in 2011, 12, which we were one of the first. And that's what made me get out of the industry in 16, because our guys were door knocking, but then you had four doors up, another company door knocking, and four doors back, another company door knocking. And I'm like, there's way too much saturation in this industry. And most of the homeowners that have been approved for power purchase agreements or have pulled the trigger on this probably already have. And so I saw the writing on the wall. but we were door knocking at that point.
Yeah, and what's really sticking in my head right now is that you said you were dealing with 6 months worth of rejection. So were you the closer at the time and you just weren't able to get a sale over the door?
I was
Like,
horrible. I was horrible.
how'd you keep
Yeah.
pushing, man? Like that's a lot of perseverance right there. 6 months with no sale, no
Yeah.
money.
I had a condo I was living in at the time, but boy, that money was running short, and I ended up just getting very, very. I won't even say fortunate. I think my resilience just kept me going, kept me going. I will tell you, I was at my wit's end, and I finally got the first sale. This is back before power purchase agreements were popular. This was straight cash we were asking people for.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
So
that
you're
must have
having to go
it's
to
difficult.
and nowadays you can sell a project for on the very low end couple dollars a watt, on the high end maybe $4, $5 in California, depending on the structure of the project. Back then it was $7, $8, $9 a watt. Some products you had to sell for $12 a watt. But in saying that, the tax credit was there, but there was also utility rebates back then.
And so going to business today and the people you're dealing with, how are you acquiring clients and what's been your strongest method of doing so at the moment?
Since I've been in the industry since '08, I know a lot of folks. So I have a staff of folks that work for me that are very strong lead generators. They come from sales backgrounds. Some of them are energy related, some of them aren't, but they just want a shot at working in renewable energy. And I get a lot of cross transactional leads, meaning I've worked with installers before, engineers before, architects, developers, general contractors. But I've also got guys from all kinds of different industries, life insurance. They'll send you leads all day. But you've also crossed leads with them as well. But mainly in-house people who are very strong at networking, and then I'll just get calls out of the blue from folks just saying, hey, look, we've got this project here. It's a retrofit. It's in Northern California. I do deals nationwide. I'm a developer. So I've worked with some of the larger companies in the nation and also a lot of small mom and pops that are in my backyard. If the deal makes sense, we'll do it. It could be a small 100 kilowatt project, it could be a 20 megawatt project. We have a couple of different verticals that we can make things happen. And we get our leads really from people out there that are word of mouth, that have strong relationships with people, that understand that the investment here is one of the stronger investments you can make for a business owner. And therefore, they know how to pitch it correctly. You have to understand one more thing. You have to understand when you pitch a lead like this to get in the door, it's also the closing lead too. But look, your electric bill, your utility bill, especially in California or a state like the Northeast, states like the Northeast, you're looking at your second highest overhead cost every month next to payroll, most likely.
Wow.
We're
Ye-
giving you a shot to be able to save millions of dollars over time by taking care of this need that's in house. At the same time, look at the utility. Can you shop your utility in California? No. This thing, you are mandated to go with your local utility. And why do you think they raise rates the way they do? Every year it's 8%, 12%, 20%, depending on the industry you're in or location.
Yeah, I mean you can't do anything about it either, right?
You can go solar.
Yeah, right. That's a good option. Yeah. So with you have your teams, you have people generating leads, and would you say you're heavily reliant on the people in your organization versus having systems set up to generate those leads for you?
We are now dipping into AI for lead generation. We have SEO, Google, that's you. I try and stay away from that because a lot of folks, you may get a lot of calls of folks that don't understand the industry. You may have residential people calling your commercial company, or you may have folks that are looking to. They've got a $200 a month bill. We don't take bills less than $15,000 a month, and that's small right now for us. Most of our clients are anywhere from 30,000 to few $100,000 a month. Actually, we have a client right now with a $900,000 a month electric bill. So
Wow.
these
Okay.
types of projects, they really come from specialists who understand that social media is great. I'm personally behind on the social media presence, to be frank with you. I own that. We're there on your SEO marketing, but really it's really word of mouth through the relationships you have with people that understand the investment in the industry And this is big stuff. You just don't cold call a company like Coca-Cola and get right in the door. That's very, very rare. You've got to have a relationship to get in that door.
So two things sort of stick out right now to me. So you said AI with lead generation first. We can go over that, but also the social media and you're behind. But with the AI and lead generation, what exactly are you doing? Because you have sales reps who are good with that lead generation, but how's AI involved in that process now?
It's just recognizing the right client and then just sending out things so much faster than you normally could in the past.
Uh-huh.
AI does a very, very fast search of the type of high energy users you're looking for in certain territories who have had their bills or their rate increases over the last few years because of the inflationary environment we're in. Not jump 6% a year. They're looking at 12, 20% a year in some industries.
That's a ridiculous number, yeah.
Well, also, it's a ridiculous number. It's a ridiculous number in California when we're the second highest electrical rates in the nation next to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Think about that. It's not Nebraska. Iowa's paying like 4 cents a kilowatt hour. We're paying it at 20 cents. And that's not even counting the demand fees, which are like 15 to $25 a kilowatt hour.
It's getting expensive over there, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So, and now on the social media side of things too, I assume you see a benefit in growing that presence, but you said you're a little bit behind. Can you tell me what your thought process is there and if you're looking to grow that page a bit, like the LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever else you guys are?
LinkedIn's where we really need to grow. I mean, look, there are business opportunities in all of social media. But do you really think that a commercial and an industrial construction renewable energy company is going to kill it on TikTok? Maybe, maybe. But look, I'm a little older. I once had a MySpace account, man. Once. So look, I come from the Facebook generation, and there's a certain vertical that you can go after on certain social medias, but I really think LinkedIn's where we need to be much stronger. And
Uh-huh.
I own that. I haven't done much of it, but look, I've been in the industry for a long time. A lot of projects just fall, and I just really haven't put much into it. But we're going to soon. We're going to have a brand new rollout, most likely LinkedIn, some Instagram, some Facebook, but mainly it's going to be LinkedIn.
Yeah. And so with you said you use AI within the lead generation part of your business. What other repetitive tasks are you guys dealing with right now that you look to potentially delegate in the future, but maybe haven't gotten around to yet?
That's a good question. I really had to think about that. I think that when it comes to lead generation, is that what you're saying?
Well, so you said you sort of use it in lead generation already,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, well, I'm not asking you to think of the solution yourself, but maybe just start with where's it repetitive within the business? And based off that, you could potentially automate or use AI within that process. Like,
In-house design very quickly.
uh-huh.
In-house design. You shouldn't have to out. It's going to come a time pretty quick if it's not already there that I'm not saying your full engineering can be done just with a press of a button by putting in some information and some prompts, but you could probably do some pre-engineering to understand the type of project size you're going to have, similar to like Aurora or a helioscope. Why would you wait 2 days or 6 hours or a week, depending on if you're doing it in-house or who you're doing business with, for a helioscope or a PV watts? For what? Why can't you just press a button right now and okay, whatever, this is the information you need, throw in the bills, boom here, okay, boom, in 30 seconds you have a helioscope drawn up on a rooftop solar project in this location, and they have a bill of, let's say, $1,000 a month. Oh, you need to switch it to carport? Okay, here's the address. Boom, boom, boom. There's the carports right there. This is how much you can fit in. You should be able to know it in 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah. So basically, just so I fully understand, when you're saying helioscope, I'm not actually exactly sure what that is.
It's a design tool for people in the solar industry space, like PV Watts is as well, where you input some information and then you can manually design a solar array into that software. And you'll put in information about, like, look, I want this to be a rooftop solar project. And you'll put setbacks at 2 to 3 feet, depending on that area's permitting or fire code. And you'll design a system and you'll say, okay, here's how much room we have on a roof. We can actually fit, hypothetically, 700 kilowatts on that roof. Okay, now let's take that and let's put this into the bidding system, proposal system, and determine what this is going to cost us. What kind of equipment can we use there? Where The helioscope, I can see it real quick where you're going to be able to punch some information in and it just pops right up in like, 5 minutes.
Do you see this as a software being offered by it, like let's for say example like a SaaS company, or do you see just bigger companies starting making their own in-house designs and everyone keeping it to themselves? What do you think that's
Well,
going to look like?
it'll start off everybody doing it themselves, which everybody's doing right now, anyways. But SaaS will just buy the best and then just take off with it.
So you could see yourself buying that kind of service from somebody paying monthly.
I'm not giving out any more business ideas on this call, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta do it yourself then, right? You're spending a lot of
I see
game.
your wheels thinking there. I just don't want to do something like that.
That's a big project. I don't think I would take that on myself. That's a multiple year long project. So I'm not trying to get into that, but it's a good idea for whoever wants to steal that from you.
Yeah, we can edit that out. I'll just play.
You gotta save that one for later, yeah. Within the business right now, though, are there specific metrics you want to improve? Do you have like a bad closing, not a bad closing rate, but do you want to improve that? I mean, obviously you want revenue always to increase, but are there any inefficiencies you see that you want to just basically improve?
I think that in the industry itself and us in general, we're across the board with high energy users on retrofit projects. Where we need to be is really concentrating and funneling it down to two, three, four industries and keep it there and dominate those industries.
So basically, if you were to attack, you mentioned Coca-Cola earlier. Would you mean like, let's attack the food and beverage industry?
Yeah. Like, let's say you have a company and you decide, you know what? Food and beverage is good for us. They're located here locally for whatever reason. That industry's strong where you are or you want to target. They usually have bills of $20,000 to $150,000 a month because a lot of them have cold storage or machines that are constantly moving the distribution of the bottles or the cans, things of that nature. So attacking food and beverage or attacking cold storage or attacking strictly school districts. That's all you do. Or you attack hospitals. Or maybe you want new build. In California, it's mandated that solar's on every new build in California. Everyone.
Really? Now?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
But the issue is they're really pushing multifamily. And so what happens is you have a lot of multifamily, and a lot of them are built with weird structures on the roof. Maybe the angles of them are different. So you may have a townhome or condo complex that is, or apartment complex that's got 100 units, but you think that's great. Well, the most you can fit up there's 20, 40 kilowatts. So it's just, that's a small project.
So
And
then,
it's a hassle.
yeah, that seems like a waste almost. Like you're just throwing up panels just to meet the requirements, or
Right. So there's Title 24 requirements, and there's a minimum requirement that each new build, dependent on the size of the building and stuff like that, has to meet. Okay. So you have a minimum requirement of solar energy dependent on the building size. So it's saying that a lot of the buildings can be big, but if the structure of the building's weird, how do you do that? And the developers aren't going to do anything more than just build the minimum. Why? That's a cost. There's that. There's EV charging that is mandated and certain new builds or even retrofits sometimes. It's across the board. Anything with over, don't quote me on this, anything over 4 stories of living space has to have a certain battery size along with the solar as well. That's mandated.
okay.
Yeah. So, but look, it's mandated. So what do? You get in touch with architects, you get in touch with general contractors, you get in touch with developers, make relationships with them. And all of a sudden they're calling you. You get one good developer, one good GC, one good architect, they could feed you business for 5, 10 years.
So is that more of a strategy just for California at the moment because it's only
Yeah.
mandated there?
Right.
Okay.
California is mandated. I can't speak for other states. I don't think there's any other states that are mandated. New York might be, Hawaii probably is.
How are you reaching out to these contractors? Are you sending out mass emails? How are you making it personalized? Like, what's the strategy for you
Mass
guys?
emails, mass emails, mass phone calls. Shoot, the good ones, the really good ones, the really good reps that I have, including I do it myself. I'm driving down the freeway and I see a large building going up, whether it be a warehouse, industrial, whether it be a track, whether it be multi-housing, senior living. I stop by, I have my hard hat with me, I have my boots with me, so I'm governing, I'm participating in our safety rules, and I walk the lot and I say, hey, who's the head man in charge? And I just go introduce myself right there and there. Do you need solar? Do you need battery? Do you need EV charging?
It's a lot of hustle right there, yeah.
Yeah, it's old school. It's guerrilla marketing.
And back to, so I'm trying to understand this because earlier you mentioned Coca-Cola and focusing on the food and beverage industry. To me, I just see these businesses as buildings that can use energy and you can market to anybody and it doesn't matter from my point of view.
Yeah.
Why is it important that you focus on specifically food and beverage? For example, if you want to do Coca-Cola and that like Lay's chips, maybe you want to get all their buildings. Why focus on that versus not just any single industrial building really? I'm trying to get that.
So there's a lot, if you just go after certain industrial buildings, a lot of them may have low bills. They just may be warehouse. Warehouses don't use a lot of electricity. Most of them don't even use AC unless they're maybe in the desert areas. I've been into areas here in Southern California where I'm like, man, it's warm outside. And then I walk in and it's not so warm, but it's not freezing either because they don't have AC. They have those new big fans that are just swirling around. Well, those aren't using a lot of electricity, you know? So you got to really go after the industry itself. Now, look, other people may have a different strategy. For me, my strategy works.
Okay.
Food and beverage isn't the only industry we'll
Of
do.
course, yeah. It was just an example. I thought, I mean,
Yeah,
because you mentioned, I thought of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There are certain industries, no matter where you are, no matter how big your building is, you're going to have a high electric bill because of that model of business.
Yeah, like factories, food production. Yeah, I see.
Manufacturing, factories, using machines all day, um, having freezing or refrigeration, food and beverage.
Mm-hmm.
Hospitals, casinos, office buildings, you can go after them, but what are they using? AC, that's a big one. But then the rest is lights and computers. So really, you want to go after industrial companies. Even agriculture is huge. I met with two very big dairy farmers 2 days ago, and they have a ton of machines that process milk. So their bills are huge, you see?
Yeah. Shawn, within the next year to 2 years for Energy Hedge, where do you guys see yourself growing to? Do you have a revenue goal? Do you want to grow your team? Do you want to be in even more locations around the country? What are you guys hoping to do?
Well, we want to grow our revenue, obviously. We want to increase our profitability. But the main thing is being more diverse when it comes to energy. Solar's great. Batteries, cool. It works. EV charging's needed, but there's other forms of energy for certain industries that use it that are maturing, whether it be that it's on a larger availability than it was before, and the cost now is ripe and it's underserved in the industrial and commercial industry. Things like syngas, things like hydrogen, and energies like that that are available on a very, very, I'll call it a very, very narrow bullseye type of client before, where now that bullseye is getting much, much bigger. We want to be able to be a full service energy provider to commercial and industrial clients. And solar may be an option for you. Hydrogen can be an option. Syngas can be an option for you. Carbon black can be an option for you. So these types, we want to be able to tell a client, look, your electric bill's killing you. What are your goals? What is your buying criteria? What investment criteria do we need to meet for you and your board to make a decision and say yes? And let us look at this and determine for you what we think the best strategy is here using different types of energies. It could be a combination of a lot of different things, which they call a microgrid. It might just be a good old solar play on the roof or car or in the parking lot. Or it could be hydrogen being produced on site or being trucked in on a weekly basis to run your giant factory. It could be any of those things. We do business nationwide. So expanding, I've already been there, done that. You know, I've worked with some of the bigger companies in the nation, Fortune 500s. I'm working with one now where we're building 9 locations in 7 states west of Texas West. I've got projects in Florida. I've had projects in the Northeast. I've worked with some of the larger real estate holding companies in the nation. But California, I'm located here. I'm born and raised. I'm educated here. And this is where the majority of our business is. And the reason is because it's just the rates. The rates, the four public utilities here, along with a couple of municipalities, have very, very high rates compared to the rest of the nation. And it's killing small and large business owners.
Shawn, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can our audience find you and online and learn more about Energy Hedge as well?
EnergyHedgeGroup.com. You can find us there, and everything you'll need is there. You can find me, Shawn Young, ShawnYoung on LinkedIn as well.
Shawn, thank you.
All right, Julian. Thank you so much, buddy. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right.